Hey everybody, and welcome to the Growth Experience Podcast. I am your host, Chris Dye. Our hope is that by listening to this podcast, you realize that you have a gift. And by believing in your gift, you can uncover your purpose and have vision for your life. Whether you're listening in your car, at home, or watching on YouTube, thank you for tuning in, and let's go! Hey everybody, welcome to the Growth Experience Podcast, episode 25, staying alive, 25, you know what I'm saying?
It's a good age.
Good age, that was a good age.
It was.
I forgot for a second, but now you said that, now I remember, and yeah, we got married and stuff. Yeah, that was a good time. But anyway, we're back with the Family Matters series. Kelsey's back in the studio, gracing us with her presence. I'm super thankful that she's here every single time. Now she doesn't question anymore. She's like, when are we doing the pod? She, because we kind of move our schedule around based off what we're doing with our kids. So she's back. Before we get started, I do want to just remind you that this episode is sponsored by Community Land Title. Community Land Title is a full-service land title and escrow settlement company here to protect your real estate investments. When you work with their knowledgeable team, you will be guided through the process in a transparent and timely way. We've had 3 closings this week for the team. We had one this morning before the podcast. And as always, Matthew Purdom with Community Land Title does a fantastic job. They don't only sponsor the show, but we use them in real life and application all the time for working with our buyers and when we can, our sellers. So always thankful for Community Land Title and Matthew and the team. Thank you guys so much for everything that you do. Today, we were just kind of talking about it, last night. We don't always map this out, right? So I just want to let you know that there's a little bit of fly by the seat here, which for me makes it a little bit more raw when you've got to be, you don't have it so scripted, right? Mm-hmm. So we don't script this series.
Not at all.
At all. And when I tried to script it, I just threw a title at her. And she was like, and I was like, and now we're just rolling with it. So we got a little bit of an idea of what we're going to talk about today, and I know God is going to open it up and help us find the words to say to be able to connect with you and allow it to make sense. So it's actually kind of funny. I was looking at your shirt, and I feel like we can just start there, right? Because we're talking about God, we're talking about our family. Today we're going to dabble into, stick our toes in the water of, what a vision for your family looks like. That's the ultimate umbrella that we're going to speak under. So, I just want to talk about, we can open it up with chasing babies and Jesus. I like that shirt.
I'm excited about this shirt. It was one of those Facebook, they sucked me in, but I still love it, so.
I don't know. I've heard a lot of people say they order something from Facebook and then it just doesn't go well. So I'm glad that went well for you.
Really? I've heard the opposite, actually. Really? Yeah, most people are pleasantly surprised, at least in the female community. I don't know.
Gotcha.
Can't speak to the dads.
Gotcha. So what does that look like? Chasing babies and Jesus.
Physically, chasing babies is a full-time job.
Yeah.
So, that's literal, chasing babies.
Gotcha.
But also chasing Jesus. I think for us, it just, at least me, it means that I'm always trying to just keep Jesus as a priority, right? Pursue what he has for me and for our family. And so trying to lead our kids to do the same. That's what it means to me.
Yeah, I like that. One of the things in our vision that we've kind of uncovered over the last several months, really it started chiseling the rock, right, when Lainey was born, was that, and shout out to Joy and Justin Ford. You guys did a podcast on this, I don't remember when, several months ago, and I absolutely loved it and shared it with you, but that they were talking about Grant and Alana Cardone, and then Justin and Joy and their family dynamic, and, they talked about how Alana, Joy, they're kind of, you guys are the gatekeepers to our kids to our family. And I think that's something that we are continuing to uncover what that looks like, and not necessarily that everybody has to be a stay-at-home mom or, you know, things like that. But for us, that vision has turned into, you are the gatekeeper for our family. I'm not emotional. I just have something in my throat. And not emotional yet anyway. And, you know, so every decision that we make for our kids, like, you're the point of contact, the point person for, you know, what that looks like. And having that clearly defined role has been helpful, I feel like, over the last several months. You know, it's allowed the business to expand on the real estate side. Check out the new swag here. But then also I feel like, while it's difficult, obviously you said full-time job, you know, it does provide the fulfillment that you're looking for when you really lean into that.
Yeah. It takes intentionality for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I listen to a lot of podcasts, like finding the joy in motherhood and stuff like that. 'Cause, you know, it can be, if you let it, like, it can just be taxing and like tiresome. And, you know, it's hard to find time for Jesus and time for yourself. And so, you know, it takes a lot of intentionality, but we are working through that.
Yeah. So what does that look like? I mean, what are some things that you have to put at the forefront of your mind when you're thinking about, okay, what am I going to do with the kids, like, today, right now, right? And then also, how is that going to set our family up in the future?
That's a good question.
You like that?
Will you repeat it?
I was just asking, like,
I couldn't think as fast as you were talking.
When you're trying to make a decision
Okay.
for our family, right, for the kids primarily, and, you know, you can make a decision today that is going to affect the future, right?
Okay.
So how do you lean on God? How do you chase Jesus in those moments where you're trying to decide as a family where we need to go with the kids?
All right. I'm tracking now.
I just rephrased. You like how I did that, you know? It's like a professional teacher or something.
Stop. So, well, I feel like you are alluding to a big decision we recently made. So we're in a season, right? We've been in a season, but particularly right now we're in a season of transition where we are trying to kind of figure out our next permanent move. So, you know, we're kind of trying to figure out exactly where we want to be. We have the vision. We know what it should what we think it should look like. So we're kind of trying to figure all the pieces out. But for the past couple of years, I have felt the pull to be at home. So we've kind of made that happen. And then from there, kind of felt another pull to potentially homeschool our children.
What'd you say?
Homeschool our children.
Keep in mind, you know, obviously before Noah, you don't know this, but
I have talked about it.
You said you didn't
was totally like
want to have
kids.
kids. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
keep going.
So this is like, I have fought it tooth and nail because I'm like, no, that must not be what I'm hearing. That can't be correct.
Excuse me. What? Yeah.
But once again, and I've talked about this in another podcast as well, it's like, for me, if I am, you know, aligning myself with what I feel like God is calling me to, I'm in constant prayer about it, you know, so it's something I pray about daily. It's something, you know, while I'm doing my Bible reading, I will ask for guidance. But then if it just like will not go away, that like nagging feeling, you know, and then if I seek wise counsel and they kind of allude to similar things that I've been thinking and chewing on, you know, that's how I kind of am like, okay, well, this seems like the direction we should go. Then obviously I have a chit chat with you.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we also involve the kids. So, for example, Olivia is going to be going into first grade. She was at a independent school last year, and she did great, and she loved it. So our homeschooling decision wasn't based on she hated school, she did terribly, we need to pull her. She loved it. And so to most people, it would seem crazy that, why are you homeschooling her? She loves school. She's our social butterfly. She, thrives in that environment. But like I said, we're in a season of change, still haven't quite nailed down, the exact area we're going to be in and things of that nature. So it made sense that I've had this pull and to not start her in a school and then have to potentially move her again. So I was like, I think we'll just try it. We'll just try it for a year and see how it goes. And when I talked to Olivia, I was expecting tears or I want to go to school, mommy, or something. And she was she literally just sat there for a second. She was like, I love it, let's do it. And so getting that affirmation too, that I'm okay, I feel like I've prayed about it, I've talked to you, I've sought counsel, and now I'm being affirmed, right, that this is the right choice.
That's good. Yeah, I love that. One thing you said that I want to point out to the listener especially, and I have a little is a criticism, something I say often, is that God doesn't really push you in anything. You feel a pull, right? And you said that, if you feel pulled into this, pulled into that. And that's when we talked about last night, leaning into God's vision, leaning into the pull, steering into the skid is what it might feel like in the moment
100%.
When you don't want to actually do what you feel like God is telling you to do, right? But being obedient in that. And so I think that that's something really noteworthy to think about, is sometimes those desires and those dreams and those visions are constantly on your mind. And you need to stop thinking about resisting that and instead asking, okay, what do you want me to do?
Yeah, you said constantly on your mind, and I thought you were going to say constantly evolving, because that's what popped in my head. I feel like you said, Kelsey 12 years ago would be who are you and what have you done with me?
Yeah.
Because it's just so it's just one of those things that I feel like it constantly changes. And even our vision for our family has changed so much, we've had some consistent threads of that have continued, but I feel like the ultimate vision has shifted here and there, and we just keep kind of rolling with it.
Yeah. And
so I feel like you said, being open to that and leaning in instead of resisting is really important.
Yeah, so, brings me back to the foundation of the growth experience. When I had Mom on the podcast, and I recently saw it in somebody that I'm starting to follow, the verse from Habakkuk. Go down the wrong way.
Drink.
You need a straw. We got a running joke in our family that Kelsey and Olivia have to have a straw to drink liquid. So anyways, but that verse from Habakkuk about, write the vision, make it plain, though it shall tarry, it will come to pass, right? And that's paraphrased, but I think it's Habakkuk chapter 2, maybe. Yeah, I got the nod from Dave, Pastor Dave in the back, Habakkuk 2. And so I would encourage you to look that up, because you got to have clarity of vision. You can't hear from God if you're not on page with yourself about what you even want to do, right? A lot of times in business, people talk about your big why. Simon Sinek has a book that says Start With Why. Simon Sinek is a lot smarter than I am. But for me, I would rather identify what I want to do first and then clarify the motives of why I want to do it, right? And I think that if you can get to what what do we want? We want to raise our kids in a godly home, and, we want to make sure that we're being a good example for them. Well, why do we want to do that? Well, Scripture tells us to do that. Well, how are we going to do it now, right? So then you get into the application. And so that's something that I feel like is super important, and something that we did, right? And I just made this connection in my brain. Culture in business world, a lot of people talk about vision boards. We took Financial Peace University last year, and our coach inspired us and really made it homework to create a vision board. Well, where does that stem from, right? That verse. If you write the vision and make it plain of your heart's desires, man, like, what do you want? What do you want? We wrote all this stuff down. And, now that we're being obedient in that, even though initially it's stuff that maybe we didn't want to do or think we would ever be able to achieve, I can see that we're walking down the right path.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
Yep. We still have that board in the closet.
We do. Still have it in the closet. I have a picture of it. I look at it every now and then, because it really does. Motivate is a poor word, but drive and inspire. Like, it just keeps that flame lit when everything else wants to blow it out. And we've had a lot of things that want to blow out that vision, but just understanding that, man, if it's from God, it'll come to pass.
Yep. And we talked about, just timing, right? Like, having the vision is important, keeping it, like you said, as a driving force, but then understanding that, like, our timing is not God's timing.
Right.
And just being patient in that.
Ooh, okay, God. So, appreciate you. On this vision board, I had an office that I wanted, right? An office building that I wanted, and I tried to get it, and it didn't happen for this particular building. Huge building, needed a lot of renovations.
I know it's
but I wanted it for the real estate team, okay? So I have thanked God for the office we have now. We have an office now. It's not the one I wanted in the beginning, right? But it is a fulfillment of what is on the vision board, right? How cool is that? And so you also have to be okay with not only God's timing, but the steps to get there, right? Like, that was a huge office. And one day, that's going to happen. But we had to start a lot smaller. And that's okay. And I think that, I'm super grateful for clarity of vision, because, if I didn't put that on the board, maybe I don't even know what I'm going after, right? And I'm just trying to, a lot of times real estate agents, they can be transactional and, only care about the next sale and this, that, and the other. But in order to have an office that sustains itself, then I have to build a team, and that's what I really enjoy. So I may have not even uncovered that had we not put that on the board.
That is cool. I had completely forgot that was on there.
That's on the board.
Yeah.
I need to put a big fat check mark next to that one. So anyway, yeah, I don't know. Just cool, right? Write the vision, make it plain. Trusting God's timing. So what are some other things that, along those lines, when you're thinking of God's timing, how do you know you're on the right track?
I think you just have this, like, overwhelming sense of peace, right? Like, when you know that you're on the right path and doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you're aligned with God. Like, we have been spending a lot of time with my parents this summer, and they have 10 acres, and they have, like, a big garden. And I grew up, like, summers I always spent at my grandparents, because my parents both worked. So, like, we would spend summers at my grandparents, and they had a huge farm, and we would, like, work the garden with them and break beans and do all the things. And so this summer, it's been really cool that, my parents are still working, so I've been helping them out by, like, picking a lot of beans and stuff like that. And I get such a sense of peace when I'm in the garden and like doing those things. And it's hilarious to me because I have been praying like recently. My most recent prayer is like, I want to be like my grandma. Like she inspired me. She was literally the kindest, most like selfless person I've ever met. And she would spend every day in the garden. Like that was their life. And I never anticipated that that is like the kind of life that I would also want or pursue. But like, it's so funny to me that I've been praying, like, make me more like grandma. And then like I get in the garden and I was at such peace in that. And it's just like, okay, like this is really cool. That I feel like if you're just seeking, right? Like you're always seeking what God has for you, then he'll like make it apparent. And I just think that's so cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember going out there with you one day. You know, I haven't had a lot of opportunities to be out there, but the one day we were picking cucumbers and picking beans and stuff. I grew up in that environment too. And, you know, I grew up on 6 acres and doing the garden thing and the chicken thing and, you know, chopping wood. We had a wood buck stove and chopping wood in 10-degree weather in the wintertime and, you know.
You can handle that.
Muttering under my breath that I would never make my kids do this kind of stuff. And now I just cannot wait. And it's to have, again, that clarity of vision of, I would say, like, it's important to seek. You're, like you said, always seeking. But sometimes you don't necessarily even need to seek. You just need to be open, right? Like, come open-handed wherever you are to see what God is telling you to do or even just speaking to you, right? That, you know, a lot of people ask, how can I hear God? Well, in that moment, I don't think you were necessarily going to the garden to hear the Lord, right? You were just going there to help pick beans for your mom and stepdad. But in that moment, being open-handed, that overwhelming peace came over you. And I think that's really powerful. And we both kind of had that. We were grounded in that moment to where, you know, we both... I'm kind of bougie, like a lot of people say that. I'll just, you know, throw it out there. But to have that moment of just pure simplicity was just so nice and so peaceful. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
It's good stuff.
Good stuff. All right. So along with that, we don't have to go super long today, you know. I thought that was a good topic for us, and we kind of sort of introduced it last night and this morning. But anything else along those lines that you want to speak into?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
I'll say one more thing.
Okay.
I can talk a lot. So Kelsey talks about her Bible reading and, you know, her time with God and you know, we go to church as a family and we have these habits and rituals, right? They may not fall at the same time every single day, but if you make your a habit of reading your Bible every day, it becomes a habit, right? No matter what time of the day. Like a lot of times I'll lay my head down and I'm like, and it's not a box to check to me, it's a conviction. So we can talk about that another time. But I feel convicted and I desire to fulfill that habit, right? And so Ed Milet, huge influence for me, talks about when life is crazy, you fall back on your habits and rituals, right? When there's chaos, you're going to go to what's most comfortable, what's most familiar. And so that's one of the things that we're continuously making a habit is that's where seeking him comes, right? So I would say, like, if you don't have a routine like that, reach out to us. We'd love to help. I'm for entrepreneurs and business owners in the Louisville area. I'm starting a Bible study at my office on just one day a month, the very first weekday of every month. That could be a habit and a ritual for you to come plug in to that. If you hear this and you want the address to the office, just reach out, because those are the types of things and that I want to. Now, there's sometimes we have unhealthy habits, right? And so that's what he's talking about. When we've got a lot of crazy and chaos and movement in our lives, but those big rocks, those things that we find super important, we've got to figure out a way to do those every single day.
Yeah. And I feel like, modeling that for our kids is super important as well. We've talked about, typically my Bible time is I get up, make the kids breakfast, do their whole thing, and then they know, this is mommy's coffee time, okay?
Yeah.
It's mommy's coffee time. And so, after they're all settled, then I make my breakfast and my coffee, and I usually go out to the porch or somewhere, hopefully quiet. It doesn't always last long. But they know, come on, mommy, finish your coffee. And I'm like, this is mommy's quiet time, okay? But I was convicted recently because I typically read my Bible on my Bible app, right? And so they don't know that I'm necessarily reading my Bible. It looks like I'm just on my phone. So I've made it a point to actually physically bring out my Bible so that they know okay, mommy's doing her coffee and Bible time, because to little eyes it could appear that I'm just scrolling, and so that's been important for me, just to make sure that they know and can see those things.
Now I'm gonna get emotional because Noah came out with his Bible the other day. I just made that connection because you did that. Noah came out to the living room with his Bible the other night and said, hey, I'm going to read my Bible every day, and I'm going to start in the New Testament. And he already had his bookmark at Matthew. And I was uber duper proud of him. And so you modeled that for him. So you're doing a great job.
Thanks, honey.
You're a great mommy.
Aww.
Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, we'll wrap up off of that. I'm excited already for next month, having the Family Matters series continue. Go ahead.
Sorry.
No.
What could be cool, because sometimes I feel like we struggle coming up with a topic, is if people have something they want specifically spoken into, or if they're hey, I want to know about your first date. I don't know, something silly or whatever, but any just questions or a specific topic, reach out to Chris or I, because, sometimes it's hard to come up with something. Life is crazy. And so if there's something specific that we could speak into, that would be really cool.
Yeah, I love that. That's absolutely something I wanted to do. So thank you for bringing that back up. Send us a message, Facebook, Kelsey Dye. You can also, even on YouTube or any of the platforms, send us a message or comment on the page. I would absolutely love that. We're 100% open to topics, so please do that. That would be amazing. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Love you.
Love you.
Until next month, I want to just let you know again that this episode is sponsored by Community Land Title, full service land title and escrow settlement provider, here to protect your real estate investments. When you work with their knowledgeable team, you'll be guided through the process in a transparent and timely way. Thank you, everybody at CLT, for always being there for us. And as for you, just like the end of every episode, I'll leave you with this. You have a gift. It's time to grow in it.